On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We have no public hearings. Consent agenda. Number 6, approval of minutes from the December 11, 2012 regular meeting. Got any comments or concerns?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Item 18A. I did not vote both for and against the city manager.
Okay, we'll strike. So we need to change that from Karen Cooper to John Jennings.
Correct.
Right. Any other? Have a motion to approve the minutes with the revision of changing from Karen Cooper to John Jennings. Have a motion by Councilman Smith. Do I have a second? Councilman Jennings seconds. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Regular consent agenda. Oh wait, citizens' comments. We skipped that. Sorry. Citizens' comments. I have Kurt Reed here to address the garden situation.
Yeah, Herb Reed, just during the holidays, and it's not only the holidays, but people put their yellow can out for a long week, knowing it wasn't picked up, it was still left. I know when the ordinance was passed to do that, the city said they would fine people that didn't pick up their cans on time, and I don't even want to see a fine, but I do. They were sitting out there for 2 weeks, something should be done. People that took it out, it was a long week, they just left it. They left bulk and everything else, one another. I don't think that should be done. People know, it was when it was originally done, it said people would be fined if they pick up their garbage can. I know that it was. It's just a and the second item, I'd like to, is there going to be a schedule? Last year there was a schedule of yellow and blue close to our house. I haven't seen one this year.
One, sorry, I'm not trying to interrupt you. Would speak when we get to the manager's comments, I'll be able to respond. Okay. Thanks, sir.
Okay, we will move on to the regular consent agenda. Number 7, consider taking action necessary regarding authorizing the city manager to sign a professional service agreement with SC Tracking Solutions.
Mayor and Council, we have Tony Santoro here to do a presentation on their program.
Evening, how you doing? I'm kind of a loud talker, so excuse me if I don't go into the mic, I might make you deaf. If I'm not loud enough, just holler. My name's Tony Santoro. Our company is my business associate, Wally Cornwell. Our business, SC Tracking Solutions, developed. It is a Texas-based company out of Rockwall County. My history, I guess, currently what I currently do. My experience, I'm a fire inspector, commissioned fire inspector in the state of Texas. I'm also a backflow technician in the state of Texas. And
guess you can go ahead and next slide.
What we did was, a couple months ago, I kind of had the idea to create a software tool. I was out there in the field. Again, with my fire inspection experience, I started realizing how the cities communicate, how the companies communicate, how the technicians communicate, and just how the law reads. And property managers, business development, all very, let's just say they're all intertwined, but they hardly understand what each other's doing. So we wanted to create a communication tool. We also wanted to do something low budget for cities. Cities are obviously strapped. Most cities, to hire an individual, just incurs a large amount of money to do so. A single individual making $40,000 a year with a vehicle, and I don't have to tell you guys this, I'm sure, but a single individual out there making $40,000 a year plus a vehicle plus benefits could cost the city upwards of $70,000 or $80,000 once the program's in place. The programs we took and put through a software tool, we did backflows. Is everybody familiar with what a backflow is? Run through the TCEQ, federal law, state law, they have to be there. Fire inspections, we took the most prominent, the most important, and also alarm permits. And what a lot of cities do, and this is just from my experience, is they will adopt a code, the most current for a new building, but it's very difficult for them to have the personnel to carry out the preventative measures once a building's built. So if they have a current, nice new building, but it's so expensive to hire individuals, dollars, but they need to stay compliant because a city can actually become, a city can be sued, fire, people get sick, people get hurt, people get burned, people drink the water. So this software tools, the idea of this software tool is basically take the place of those individuals, and we do essentially A through W for these different inspections, and the only thing that we can't do is X, Y, Z, which is the enforcement of the product. We don't do any enforcement. We're essentially a recording and cataloging tool. Backflows, for example, what we would do is we would actually go out in the community. We would dress probably in jeans, nice badge, city badge, contractor badge. We would identify ourselves to the business owner. We would go out and look for every single backflow. We would dig up, we would catalog every single backflow that you have in the city. And same way with the fire inspections. We would read the tags. We would put everything on the proper catalog that NFPA requires, that your code, your current law requires. And we would enter it into this software tool. Now, once that happens, we take it steps further on than that. We actually mail out at our cost a 35-day, a 15-day, and a 5-day notice to those commercial businesses, and in some cases, in some cities, residentially, notices that, hey, these items are due based on your current law. So, for example, backflows are annual. Well, annually, when that thing comes up, and we go out there and find it, we send them a notice saying, hey, this needs to get done. Same way with fire inspections. As a current fire inspector myself, I can tell you that these items here behind us, they're the most prominent, they're the most important. They're the ones that the state requires a license for. They're there for a reason. And even in a city like Van Alstyne or Dallas, you can't hire enough people to go out there and do the job that's required by code. There's a ton of bureaucracy, a ton of paperwork just to do it properly. The backflows themselves require 5 different items that have 5 different expiration dates. And it's just extremely difficult for one individual, even 2 individuals, to keep up with all that paperwork. But it's required. It must be there. Fire inspectors, it's very difficult for a fire inspector to go out 2, 3 times, 4 times a year in some cases, at some restaurants or some nursing homes or whatever the occupancy type is, whatever's required by code. They can barely get out there once a year because usually the city has just enough money to hire just enough individuals to do a certain amount of capacity work. Emergency lighting, for example. Emergency lighting, the proper test required by your code is 90 minutes They must shut the lights down, the batteries must stay on for 90 minutes. No fire inspector out there can stay out there for 90 minutes. Regardless of what inspection you see up there, every single one of them is licensed by the state. Every single one, except emergency lighting. Now, those inspections in the city that I'm familiar with takes anywhere to do properly. And when I say properly, I mean if there was ever an investigation done to where someone needed to see the history of a particular, let's say, kitchen hood at a restaurant. Well, they would go back to the records, the city records, and see exactly if the inspections were, held accountable. And I can tell you, for the most part, even depending on I take that back. These inspections, the tool actually will catalog all that, put it on the proper timetable, and will make sure that the business is held, whatever the code requires. So if a kitchen hood is twice a year, it will send them a letter twice a year. Now, we take it a step further. The technician, through our software, we register them. We get driver's license, we get insurance, we get calibrations, we get all of their state and local licenses, and we catalog them into their own private profile. And what we do then is we cross-reference them with state databases to make sure they are who they say they are. And we've run into some cities where the city we're currently in, we've actually run into testers that don't have all their licenses current, and they shouldn't be doing what they're doing. So with that being said, we're checking these people, we're making them accountable. They're required to have insurance. We've kicked 3 people out of the city currently in because they refused to carry insurance. Well, that protects your businesses. That protects the local establishment. So the residential alarm permits, and I don't believe you guys don't have that currently, correct? That program, and is a residential alarm permits we do for we're getting ready to actually set up for the city we're currently working with, but basically, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, but cities use that as revenue when police and fire have to go out there on false alarms. They charge them a $35, $50 fee a year. The software actually also tracks that as well. But back to, I believe we're talking generally about fire and backflows. We will catalog everything. We will send the notices out at our cost. Your cost to the city is $0 the first year, and it's $595 a year after that. And that rate will not go up as long as you sign that contract every single year, year in, year out. What we do is to start a baseline, is we'll actually go to every single business. We like to have a green product, so we try and get email addresses so we can send the notices out. We'll go out to every single business in the community. We'll dig those items up. We'll get the serial numbers. We'll get all the manufacturers. We'll log them into the software. We'll register all the tags. We'll send the notices. All this at our cost. And so, and we do that with all these inspections. Your fee. This is essentially a smaller government program. It is designed to reduce the effect of cities having to hire individuals to do this work, and it actually does it. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't get sick, it doesn't go on vacation. It's open 7 days a week, 365 days a year. What essentially the tester does is once they go out into the field and do the test, they will go back to the software and they will enter the results of the inspection in. And when they're done entering the results, they'll pay a small fee and they'll check out. A lot of people want to know how we make our money. That's how we make our money. This is not a new concept for cities as far as how we make our money. The reason this is a small government program, just these items up here, you could account for about 2 to 2.5 individuals for a city. Somewhere in the ballpark of approximately $75,000 to $150,000 a year just in payroll, benefits packages of employees to carry this program out. Well, this program does that in a nutshell. And where cities are already getting behind the 8 ball is that, I can name a half a dozen cities in the Metroplex that have these programs, but they get their citizens and they hit them twice. They hire the individuals to run the program, and then when they go to turn the forms in, they hit them with a fee. For example, I'm a backflow tester. I've tested in every city from Roy City to Weatherford, down to Waco. And for example, Frisco, say Frisco, or Carrollton. We'll go into Carrollton. I did 10 backflows in Carrollton the other day. I had to pay my registration fee for the city, to pay the individual who runs the program. And then when I turned the forms in, I had to pay $350, $35 per form. Before I even got paid, before I could leave the city, before I would get credit for those devices. What we're asking for from our techs is we're trying to get cities early enough to where they don't have to hire the individuals, or if they do have to hire the individuals, they can actually make their program stronger. They can reallocate that resource. They can move that person to do other duties. And we charge them a 1095 fee when they check out. So it's $595 to you, and it's $1095 to them, and that's the extent of our fees. And well, the inventory fee, we do actually charge a $995 fee, a one-time fee of $995. We will go out there, and like I said, we want to create a baseline. And my understanding in this city, we need to go out and find as many as y'all have. And that's what we do for the first 2 weeks of the program. We'll actually, walk the city, walk every single business. We go in, we introduce ourselves, we have a badge on. Before we do anything, we get the information. We have a letter generally from the city manager saying what we're doing there. And then we're off doing our work in the catalog. So the cities that the city we're currently in is Roy City, Texas. Their backflow program, we found they had 30 on the books. We found 3 times that amount in 2 weeks. We have their backflow program current within 90 days. So we have state approval on this process. We actually went to TCEQ, told them our process. They wrote us a letter, and we actually got proof of that letter of showing how we have TCEQ approval to do this process for this program. Because we not only catalog these people, we not only make sure that they are who they say they are, we not make sure they have the proper documentation, but the software's set up to where when they go to enter the results into the software, it recognizes a pass or fail. And then it shoots the city a copy like it's supposed to, and then it shoots the individual a copy for his or her records. And if it's wrong, obviously it'll kick it out. The city's extent in all of this is they will actually have a non-compliance report. They'll have a private login. They'll go to their private site. And like I said before, we can do A through W. We can't do enforcement, which is XYZ. And so what will happen is they'll pull up that list at the end of the month. They'll see who's on the non-compliance report. And they'll call those individuals and they'll do the enforcement at that point. Whether it is write a letter, whether it's fining, whatever the city chooses to do for their enforcement. But that's the extent of the program as far as the software to it. It records, it catalogs, it confirms who the individuals are, and it does it at an extremely minimal cost. So, I kind of went to one page here. I meant to keep going. But I basically just gave you the whole program in a nutshell. Not a very good salesperson. I am in the fire service still, so I kind of regurgitate stuff. I kind of just throw it out there. So, excuse me, but I will take questions at this point.
Is there a cost to the individual?
What we found is we charge the technicians to do the work. This obviously isn't a new concept like I mentioned. I can name a half a dozen cities that charge me to do the work. So when I go do the work, let's say in Carrollton or Plano or Frisco, I tell the business I'm doing the work for, I tell them, hey, the city has this fee, and they have to be, they're okay with it because I tell them up front. But is there, the fee is to the company themselves. It's not to the individual. We expect them to pass it on to the business.
Not a direct fee to the business. What we're trying to say is it's going to be charged back immediately to either the inspector or the technician. Once they do the inspection at the site, and once they check the box, eventually they're going to charge that back to their fee that they charge you.
So like me, for example, if I went out to CVS and I did 10 backflows, well, eventually I've got to recoup that cost. So I am going to charge it to CVS. But I am going to charge it as a city fee because, well, I'm going to line item it as an additional cost, not necessarily a city fee, but I'm going to line item it as an additional cost because obviously I can do one of two things. I can raise my rates, or I can line item it and use it as a deduction. So either way, we see it as going back to the actual the business. But we can do it extremely at $10.95 per backflow. We can actually do it. We can do it about 1/20th the cost that you as the city can. For you to do what we do, you're going to have to hire that individual, and you're going to have to pay them. You're going to have to do the benefits that the software tool does. And like I said before, that software tool does not rest, does not sleep, does not get sick, take vacation, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Any current, I wouldn't call us a software company, I call us a service company. Most software companies will come to you and they'll sell you a product, software, 50, 60, 100,000, whatever the case. We're not selling you anything. We need the partnership. So you can do the enforcement on a program that's supposed to be, supposed to be there for state compliance. So we're not selling you that software and then trying to sell you upgrades. We're going to pay for all that. We're going to pay for everything, postage. All we're asking for is that $595 investment.
Where does the 1095 come in?
1095 comes in when the tester goes out. For example, let's say this building has 2 devices. And what they'll do, we'll send a letter to the city, obviously, because they own this building. The city will hire a backflow technician. They will be required to go to our site, download driver's license, calibration reports, insurance, state licenses. We will cross-reference all that. They will come do the work at that point. They will go back to our system, enter the results of of what they found for those 2 devices here, and then they will pay that $10.95 when they check out of our site.
$10.95?
That's correct. That's correct.
That's over a year's time, so if this has 2 devices, it's $20 some change. So,
Right.
You're talking about, you asked the question, is it going to cost them $20 So, if they want to put that back, charge their cup of tea, a penny more, per business. So, we can't tell them how they're, to run their business or how the inspector or technician needs to run their business either. So we can definitely guide them on the wrong path.
When you say fire inspection, is that the tags on the fire extinguishers?
The tags on the fire extinguishers, what we'll do is we'll go out and catalog first, and that way, like for example, what we've run into, and I've run into as an inspector, we'll go out to, let's just say, I'm not picking on anybody, let's just say donut shop. Well, donut shop may only have their hood inspected once a year. Well, that's required by code, it's required twice a year. And for like a Denny's, it's 4 times, or no, I'm sorry, the cleaning of that hood is 4 times a year. And they may only be doing it twice, which most of them are. Either one, because they don't know the code, or 2, most times because they don't know it. But we're going to put them on the system that's required by law. We're going to put them on that system of twice a year, 4 times a year. And we're going to send them notices. And if they don't comply, that's when the city will come behind on that 36th day. And they will come in and they say, why haven't you complied? Well, we thought we only had to do it 3 times a year. Well, that's not actually the case. Here's the code that's adopted by the city. These are the laws, and this is the way it's supposed to be. Oh, okay. And that's what we found is a lot of people just don't understand what the law is. That's why this is a good communication device between the city, tester, and property owners, all that. Because property owners can also go onto our site and they can look up any inspection that was ever done by doing a quick open records request. They can actually go in there and say, oh, they type in their address and they go, oh, okay, my inspections were done. They're current.
The question was, how much does it cost for a fire inspection? Okay. And is the fire inspection just checking the tags on the fire extinguisher?
No, sir. No, sir. The kitchen hood fire system, the commercial cleaning system, which cleaning the hood all the way to the roof, those are 1095 inspections per inspection. The fire extinguisher is $295 per fire extinguisher and $195 over 6. So it would be, the market won't justify $10.95 for 1 fire extinguisher. And so we bring it down to $295 up to 5. So it'd be $295 a piece for 5, and then if they went over 5, it'd be $195 a piece
But all you do is just read the tag.
No, we don't do anything like that. We catalog the program. So what we'll do is we'll go out, let's take ABC Restaurant, for example. We'll go in there and we'll read the tags of every piece of fire device, backflow device that he has. And we'll go back and we'll enter them into the software tool. And then based on the dates and the law of those tags, we will put him on the proper cycle for compliance. And then we will send him notices 35 days, 15 days, and 5 days out at our cost to make sure that he hires someone who's licensed to do that work. And then they will go out and do the work, whether it be clean the hood, and then they will go back to our system to enter the results in. And that way the city doesn't have to send a fire inspector out there, a public works gentleman at a cost of a vehicle, at a cost of a desk, at a cost of materials, benefits, and salaries. So it reduces the overhead of the payroll for that city.
Okay, so once we inventory the city, and also for this location, if there is a fire extinguisher, which I'm sure there is, catalog goes out to the city point of contact. So at that point of contact is called a company to come out and do the inspection. So whatever they do at that point, if they have to refill it or have to, whatever they can use that device, whether it's just put a tag on, they done the job.
Do you actually test the?
No, sir. We don't do any inspections. We don't do any enforcement. We're cataloging and reporting to them. And we confirm the inspections themselves. That way, a fire inspector or a public works can sit at his desk and he can actually make calls off the non-compliance report and say, hey, these items are due at your property. Why haven't we done them? And we get current because that's what the law requires. And we don't do any enforcement. We don't do any inspections. I personally couldn't because I'm commissioned to do so in the city that I work in. So I can't do that. So we don't do any of that. We catalog, record, and confirm the inspections. And that way the individuals don't have to go out there and spend the time to do so. And I can tell you as an inspector, even in the city that I'm familiar with, we don't have enough inspectors for what's required for that city. And we have more than most. And it's because a lot of these businesses require more than one visit. In some cases too, and for the emergency lighting, it would take 2 hours of one inspector's time just to sit there and watch the emergency lights and make sure they're working properly. So what happens? It doesn't get done. It just doesn't get done. The city of Royce City, numerous calls, emergency lights, we've got burned out batteries, left and right. Well, emergency lighting is not just for fire. Emergency lighting is for when the lights go out, just in general. So these inspections are there for a reason. We're finally taking what we consider the most important, the license type. And we're sending qualified individuals out there that have insurance. Now we can't speak to their background, we don't do background checks, but we do check their licenses, make sure they are who they say they are, make sure they're carrying insurance to protect your businesses. We kicked 3 out of Royce City we're currently in because they refused to carry insurance or they didn't have proper documentation. And so, yeah, we don't do any inspections, no enforcement.
So basically, the 595 is an administrative fee charge.
We call it hardship.
Initial inspection, and then you provide notification to the city and the property if they meet the inspection or where they're at as far as compliance.
The 595.
You follow up then at a later date to see if that property owner has followed through with compliance.
We do everything like Tony was saying. We do everything up to a certain point. It's up to the city to.
So they follow back to the city.
Yes, sir. And after that, if it goes to what we call non-compliance, and up to the city, if they take that list of business owners and business properties, they can net that to the city of Alstyne. So how they enforce it, enforce the fine, or shut the water off, whatever is in the code.
So once you send the first letter of non-compliance, there's no letter.
Now we'll send it 35 days up. Hey, this is coming up. We understand that in February you have a backflow process.
Right.
And we'll follow that one up. Just in case you need 35 days, we're going to send 15 days. And just for added measures, we're going to send 5 days after that 15.
Between the 35 and 15 fine, are you seeing that they have not complied?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, that's okay.
Yes, we will, because obviously the transaction will come through, and then there'll be results on the results page for the public to view. So
and for us to see. Right. And what you'll get, as soon as it's real time, as soon as the report gets done and confirmed to pass, it will actually go directly to your designated email box. And it will go to their email box as a tester, because they have to keep it on record for 3 years. And it'll be a hard copy, a PDF for them to print off.
Is there a limitation on the number of businesses that can use 595?
Absolutely not. No, the 595 is we even talked, I won't say this, we even talked about not charging. It's a partnership fee. We need to charge something. It does cover some postage, but for the most part, we're doing it at our cost. And that's the only cost that you're going to see.
Trying to do it green too, like I said. We can get emails as much as possible whenever it takes. You never, you want to keep it as green product as possible.
And this does not include residential.
That's up to your ordinance. Now, that's one of the things that we'll discuss as we go forward. I didn't want to go there yet, but one of the things is making your ordinance stronger than it is currently. And we sit down, we consult with you at no additional cost, but we'll pull examples from other cities that we feel we run into that are strong, and we'll show you, how to build a good ordinance so that, and you'll have to make that decision as a council if you want to do residential and commercial. Because the state of Texas actually looks at that and they leave it up to us. They leave it up to, they leave it up to you, the cities. There's probably, what's really catching on is the residential because it's considered non-hazard, but in some cases with fertilizers and things like that, it is considered a health hazard. Some cities are making residential being tested every other year. Commercially, definitely, at least once a year. Residentially, at least upon install. At least upon install. That's the minimum. But it would be up to you for your ordinance to determine what you would want to do. If you want to do it annually or semi-annually or just not at all, or just only upon install. So that would be a future question. But this is one of the most favorite things that I have about this program is that I did say it's a smaller government program. We can do it so much cheaper than the city can. We can make it comply. We can. It only charges the people that are required to have these devices by law. And that's the way government should be. Only the people required to have that are required to have these devices by law are paying for this program. And that's why we can do it so much cheaper than you guys can. So you spend the 2 weeks to go into the businesses catalog. So because we're going to be growing, as we grow, is there an additional charge for the businesses? No, ma'am. As long as what will happen is you'll permit, and when you permit those new devices, we'll coordinate so we get those new devices. We'll put them in our system, and they just go straight into the catalog. So when their year comes up, the new business will get the letter.
The inventory is really on 26. Good baseline.
Good baseline.
So, after that, a new building, a new business that comes up, that's pretty simple. It's just a phone call or an email.
Sure. A big benefit too, if you're interested in green, this is most cities do this system manually. Even a lot of bigger cities do this system manually. It takes 3 copies. It actually takes 4. We can do this with actually just 1 copy. We try and get email addresses so we're not sending out mail correspondence. We're trying to keep it green so we can actually make this program 90% more green than it currently is on a maintenance system.
Okay, can we go back to the annual fee, $595?
It's $595, yes, sir.
So we're talking about potentially us not having to pay the $595 and just pay the one-time annual setup fee of $995.
The $595 was waived the first year. The $995 can be pushed back to your next fiscal year. And that way you can budget for it for your next fiscal year. It would be due probably the first day of your next fiscal year. That way you can line item it for next year. We'll push you back and we'll waive it till then. And that way it's not due up front. So currently this year to have this program in place is $0. And to move on next year to sign an additional contract for a second year, it would be $595 each year after that. The $995 would go away because we're not going to inventory anymore. We've created that baseline. And then it'll be $595 as long as the contract's in place. If it's 10 years from now, if it's 20 years from now, it will stay $595 as long as there's no breach of contract.
The $1095 on each backflow, that's your fee?
That's our fee.
That's your fee once the inspector?
That's our
plugs
fee.
it in.
Right.
So it's not the whole fee. The inspector's gonna have his fee, and then there's gonna be the 1095 whenever they plug it into the system, right?
There's no fee to register for the tester.
Sure.
When he goes out and does the work, and then he comes back and enters the results, he will be charged at $10.95 for that device.
Okay, it's just a question that came up earlier, and so I just wanted to make sure that I understood that that's not the inspector's fee, that's just when they go into the system.
When they go into, and yeah, I mean, like I said, no fee to register. They're only going to pay us if they have the work to do.
Yes, sir.
Being less than that, it's fire. There's only one fire extinguisher for that donut shop.
It's $2.95.
Are you the only company that does something like this?
As far as I know. As far as I know. There's companies that actually do a portion of what we do, but that they're not adding the whole host of inspections that we have. So you may have a company out there that does a portion, 30%, 20% of what we do, but you're not going to have the whole host of the program that we do. And we are definitely the only one in Texas. It's licensed and bonded and pays taxes in Texas.
In the agreement that you have, under the terms of service payment, refunds, upgrading and downgrading terms, the first one, there's a blank spot. It says payment, term of service, the city will charge, will be charged $5.95 on an annual basis, excluding the first year. An optional inventory fee of blank.
The inventory fee is $9.95.
Okay,
At that time, we didn't know when we sent it to you, we didn't know if you were going to opt to do it yourself or if you were going to have us do it.
So that would be $9.95 then.
One-time fee, and then those 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes us to get it done right. And it's $9.95, one time and done.
So it's not optional then if we elect to go with
It is optional if you choose to do it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And it usually comes down to a personnel issue at that point. Do you have enough people to dedicate the kind of time to go find them?
Or if you just want us to use what you currently have.
Right, or you can just give us what you currently have. And that fee would be, we would not charge.
We find that a lot of, and we're young and dumb, so when we go to these meetings, it's, hey, this is our final system, it's file cabinet and all of that.
I think I would necessarily trust someone that's already, I think if we do something like that, we would start at the bottom.
This is, as far as security, we've got 2 servers backed up for 24 hours, 256-bit encrypted. They're constantly being backed up. The safety, you own the product. We don't own the city material, and so everything that is done is yours to keep. We own the software, we built it, we're going to license it, and as far as that's concerned now, you own all of your product, all of your results, all your inspections. So if, let's say next year you said it's isn't working out, we would provide you a CSV file and basically an Excel file. Those inspections, those contacts, you own them, they're all yours, and they're mentioned in that contract. You own them.
Roy City was a pretty big accomplishment for us. So we got them up to 100% compliance. TCQ, can come back out and do an inventory and audit process of Roy City and
They're out there big time. TCQ's out there auditing. They're slapping fines on cities. They don't have this program in place. It's one of the only annual things that they go out and audit in some cases. And if you don't have a program, you will probably in the next couple of years because they're going to make you. Because water's becoming it's so protected anymore. It's going to keep being that way. The fire inspections can speak for themselves. I can tell you as a fire inspector, whether you choose to do the fire or not, it's extremely difficult with limited staff, even with full staff, to get out there and require times to do it. So we keep track of everything. Anytime a law changes, we adjust the software to compensate. So, The fees are nominal. I can tell you right now, in most cities, they have. I love this program because you're not having to hire the individuals to do it. We're catching you before you do that. And then we're keeping the fee controlled to where it's not out of hand to where you got to pay for those individuals. It truly only charges the people required, to have the devices by law. And, it's nominal what we're making compared to what's going to cost you to run the system right.
Steve, we have any other this?
It's cheaper.
Your experience?
It's cheaper for me to I'm going to speak what state Arkansas required and what we've been through. State Arkansas requires all residential and all commercial and all industrial to be inspected yearly. And it didn't accept anybody from backflows are the only primary protection to the city's water from private services. If somebody hooks onto a well, we have no way of knowing it. That's backflow actually provided. I think it's a good product. I've just seen it for the last 2 days, so I've had to study it to find out about it. So I know, frankly, I think it's cheaper than I can do it.
And he can strengthen the program too. I don't mean to interrupt. He can strengthen the program too. We do A-to-W, but I can tell you the city, many cities I've worked in, there's still a bunch of fraud going on. The market stands at maybe $50 to $100 a device. That's what we charge besides the city's fees. And I can tell you, I've run into devices that said they were checked and they weren't. And that's something. Would you rather your inspector, your personnel be out there trying to keep track of the paperwork, trying to keep track of the expiration dates, making sure everybody's who they say they are? Or would you rather out there be catching people doing, increasing your enforcement program for backflows, for fire inspections? And that's that's one alternative to, that's why I say you don't necessarily get rid of the person in that spot, but you can give them alternative duties. Plus, you can make the program that much stronger. And like you said, it's only going to grow. Some buildings, at the hospital where I'm from, has 34 of them in one shot. The school district, the city itself, has over 200. So it's not going away.
You said that the emergency lighting testing.
Yes.
We do that also?
We catalog it. So we'll hold people accountable in the respect that we'll send them the letters, and we'll make sure that the city knows it's supposed to get done. Now, all the fire inspections, we will send the notices out and make sure that those individual businesses know that those are supposed to get done. That's the first limit of liability that the city has, because now the business was notified. I can tell you from just general investigations I've been on as a fire inspector that when you go and you don't do your emergency lighting, but you've been notified about it, at that point, if that emergency lighting had anything to do with someone getting hurt or someone getting out, and they find out you were notified and you didn't do anything about it, can you imagine the liability?
So we as a business owner have to find somebody to...
Correct, and we make sure those people are who they say they are. We check their licenses, and then they're able to come out and do it with proper instruction. As far as we hold them accountable to the 90-minute battery test for those.
Do you have a list of licensed individuals?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, it's growing every day because as it's obviously a new software. So I'd say we have somewhere in the ballpark of 50, 60 inspectors, not testers, people that have run through and registered through the site. And so, they all have various different backgrounds, various different licenses, but they've been cross-checked. They hold the licenses they say they hold. We have a picture of them. If you guys ever want to, pull them up to do an investigation on a fire, you guys have access to that. We issue the city individual, and I assume it's, in this case it'd be this gentleman, we would issue him his own private login. So when he goes, to the non-compliance report, he logs in, he sees everybody who's past due. He can actually sit at his desk and make phone calls instead of going out there to visit. Say, hey, when are you getting this backflow tested? when are you doing these emergency lights testing? Well, we didn't know. Who can you recommend? Well, we've got a list of people that are already registered to do it.
How much does it cost? Is there a cost for the people that do the actual inspection to register with you?
No, sir. The registration fee, there's no registration fee whatsoever. The only fee for the tester, for the inspector, is that when they go in to enter the results, that's the only fee. Everything else is optional at that point for them.
I just want to add, the city does have a registration fee for backflow testers, and I believe it's $35.
And, you know, we've actually talked about this. What we do, and it's totally up to you, thanks for bringing that up, by the way, is most cities, that fee is somewhere between $50 and $100 a year. That's my experience. That's up to you. If you want to raise it, you can lower it, you can take it to zero. It's totally up to you. But what we like to do is we like to have them register at our site. That way they're not going to City Hall, filling it out, and paying the fee up there. They can actually pay the fee on our site, and we can lock them out if they don't pay, if they bounce anything, if their credit card doesn't clear. You know, we control basically the registration through our site. So it actually saves them time from having to go to City Hall, do the registration process again, that we're already doing. We can actually capture that fee online, and what we'll do is we'll basically capture that fee, and then we'll reimburse it to you on a monthly basis. We would charge you $10.95 to do that per tester registration though. So we will capture more testers than you're probably capturing now. And in that respect, if you do raise your rates, just a little bit, that will pay for even our fee of $595.
So the fire extinguisher companies that we take our fire extinguishers to and have them tested and retag, they have to pay the $35, Jennifer? Or is it
Those are just the backflow.
Just the backflow.
Those vendors don't have to pay anything.
Right.
The fire vendors currently don't pay anything. And that is up to you as a council to decide if you want to do that as well.
We're giving them an opportunity too. I mean, the inspector, the technicians, we got a technician plus. It's not a preferred list. It's just it's a list that when we do the inventory, we go out to these businesses and we kind of educate them. This is what our program is about. This is how it works. If you don't know of any backflow companies or fire companies, by the way, here's a technician plus.
Here's people that are registered already with the city. They've already run through our program. They know the program. They know the fees, and they've already been cross-checked. You can use them. You don't have to use them. It's totally up to you. We don't refer anybody. We don't push any company. I'm very familiar with that with the city. You can't, encourage someone to use a particular vendor.
Their fees can be whatever.
Their fees are whatever the market will hold. I mean, it's totally up to them. They just know they'll have to pay our fee, and usually they'll want to recapture that sometime.
From what I understand too, the market's kind of flooded with backflow individuals.
It's coming down, as it comes down.
But I mean, with that being said, with that, those companies, they may not be, have a license to do that thing, but they're saying they are just to get the money. So we're insuring, we're insuring their background, we're insuring they're not a felon, they're not another legit.
The feedback from the testers, the inspection companies, the fire extinguisher companies, very positive, especially the ones that know it's already started to kick some of what they say is the riffraff out. People that aren't, not carrying insurance, they're going out and sending someone to hang a tag, so they have to make note on our site that what they did, when they did it, and the site will tell them, hey, at 6 years, a fire extinguisher needs to be, repressurized. Basically, need a new fire extinguisher. Well, they'll have to enter that. Now they'll be accountable for that. They can't just send an unlicensed individual out there. Which I can tell you, as a fire inspector, unless you're doing a final on a new building, you're not going to get the licensed person. Now, they may be accountable for it, but they're not actually out there. So.
Any other questions?
I don't have a problem with the program itself. It sounds like it's we can't operate money. We can't agree to pay money that's not budgeted. If our city manager wants to amend the budget and show us where he's taking money out of one line to put into this, I'll be okay with that. But we can't agree to pay something the first day of next year because we don't have a budget for that. We haven't approved a budget.
If anything, realize we're trying to be flexible. We know that you have the budget items, but we know that most cities we bring this to want to start it yesterday, and we're just, if you have an option that's, put it on the table. Like I said, it's just us trying to work with city budgets.
Frankly, we have some savings projected in the changing the audit system that's coming from the election plan.
We do, sir. Of course, we got to approve to do that.
Do you foresee being able to make budget amendments or should for certain budgets and areas to?
I'm sure we are.
I think that's a good idea. I think we should end the second quarter possibly, a little bit better understanding of this.
We're in the second quarter, sir.
Well, at the end of the second quarter.
At the end of the second, starting at 90 days, and then start the first quarter. You let me give you an assessment of the budget and see what's
So we're not going to take any action on item number 8, or action item number 7. We're still on the table.
I like the program.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We're moving on to number 8, consider taking action necessary regarding ordering the May 11th, 2013 general election.
Mayor and Council, Jennifer Gould, City Clerk.
This is basically just a formality to order the election for the two council people and mayor for the May 11th, 2013 election. And this also identifies the dates for early voting and the election day.
Have you applied for the paper ballot?
Working with the city attorney on submitting pre-clearance.
So we don't know yet whether it'll be paper or... I'll move that we
motion to put the option on the ballot to change the structure of our sales tax that was discussed during budgeting. So if you'd like to put this on the agenda, no, on the agenda, on the ballot for the May 11th election, it would be on the same ballot, just a motion to change the structure of the sales tax.
That's for the street fund.
Right.
Anybody have any questions on that? Entertain a motion. Councilman Smith makes a motion for a special election May 11, 2013. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Toomer seconds. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. We will now move on to item number 2. Consider and take any action necessary regarding passage of ordinance amending and also sign regulation ordinance number 485.
Ordinance 485, which was provided in the packet, was passed and approved by the council June 13th, 2000. The fees that are set forth in that ordinance, I believe it's section 3.5. Yes. It identifies the fee to be based on the sign size. Our current fees that we are charged and that we are charging, well, our current fees that we are charged for these inspections and thing review is necessary are set by Bureau Veritas. They charge us based on the value of the work. So if you put in a sign that is less than 50 square feet and costs you $1,000, just to keep it easy, we will be charged by Bureau Veritas a fee of $76.92, which is similar to what we do with our building permits. It's the same thing. Our building permit fee that was recently changed by council is $76.92 plus 15%. So we are taking a 15% administrative fee. So I suggested that rate just based on what we do with the building permits. And this would, I'll go back to that. What 485 identifies as a fee now for assignment point registration at a value of at or around $1,000, and the sign is less than 50 square feet. We would charge the person pulling the permit $25, whereas we are charged $76.92. So we lose, a significant amount of money, over $50 in permitting that sign. So I'm proposing just a change of that fee to make it identical to our building fees, and so that we do not lose in permitting a sign.
I didn't realize we were losing.
What would be the problem with, I'm concerned about charging and continually charging businesses when we're trying to get business to move to the city, or people who are existing and have to get a new sign. Would there be a detriment to the city if we made it a 10% fee instead of 15?
On the wage you're discussing, we're talking about going from $10 to $8.
Yeah.
It's y'all's decision. She based it specifically on 15% on the building fees.
I just identified that because that
Yeah.
was the building permit fees. So it's definitely up to you, and we can change the percentage in the ordinance at council's desire.
I think keeping continuity in administrative fee would be advantageous.
Well, I really think for businesses, like I said, if we're trying to bring businesses in, that a lesser fee would be better. As long as it's, the city's costs are covered and there's not a, we're not losing. I would recommend a 10% fee instead of a 15% fee. I'd prefer less than that, but if I had a business and we're trying to get something going, but
Is that the motion you're making?
I'll make a motion that we change it to a 10% fee instead of 15%, yes.
I have a motion for 10% fee. Do I have a second? Councilman Smith, second. All in favor? Opposed? Councilman Jennings opposes. Motion passes. Moving on to item number 11, consider and take any action necessary regarding passage of ordinance to amend Alstyne noise regulation ordinance number 439.
Mayor and Council, we've had some concerns recently about noise late in the evening. I know we're in the darker part of the year where it starts early and stays dark until later in the morning. Of course, the issue that's been brought up is that people are trying to put children to bed, and construction still taking place, or equipment still being operated on in town till 10 o'clock at night. We looked at other municipalities as far as what they did, and probably the most agreeable if we were going to change would be Anna had a fairly flat ordinance similar to ours, but between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. on weekdays and Saturday, you couldn't make any noise, noise prohibited, as well as on Sundays. That's where the recommendation came from, as far as if we're going to make a change, because there have been some concerns brought up. That's what we're recommending.
I'm the one that brought this to the mayor's attention because I live in Georgetown where all of the construction is going on right now. And I've had several citizens complain about it. And not just the 10 p.m. time, but the 6 a.m. morning time also has been a concern. I personally don't see a problem with the 6 a.m. because I'm always up way before then, but some people's children are not, or the ones that work hours that are not conducive to the 6 a.m. I honestly don't see why anybody would be out working at 6 a.m. with the morning on construction site. Or after, after dark.
You're a roofer.
Well, but it's not even daylight.
In the summer, it sure is. And they have to avoid the heat.
Well, I understand. But working at late at night, when people are trying to put their kids to bed for school is the thing that brought to my attention. So.
I too have had calls on this. And personally, have no problem at all. I would even support it to 8 p.m. 7 to 8 p.m. is broken down day along construction. And I think this primarily deals with construction. I have no issue with a resident mowing the yard.
It has lawnmowers down here as part of it.
Yeah, and when I read through this, I would really like to see Article 7 and 8 in this. I think we should address, I think they should state the operation of the motor vehicle, the powered operating lawnmower, or the landscape equipment, and leave those hours to 9 p.m. But I think construction and demolition work should be moved up to number 7 and encompass that in there where it actually addresses the noise issue, construction and demolition, and move that to a 7 to 8 p.m. The issue is construction and demolition, not lawnmowers.
I disagree with the proposals here, and I would like to see in fact, I move that we table this until the entire ordinance can be rewritten so that there's consistency. We were talking about consistency before. We need consistency. I think we should, to figure out now, I can do this from here, from 10 to 6. I can do this from 7 to 9. It's just not reasonable for the people. And I think that we should be trying to make life easier for our citizens and not be making it harder and more difficult to understand and to do. I would like to see 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. for all things, because as with the heat and the problems we have in Texas, 10 o'clock we still have light, or that's whenever it gets dark, and 6 in the morning is early and you have light. And with any people working on construction, working during the heat of the day is very difficult. And I know, as my husband, having been in the roofing business, that's when you need to have the people out there working. And I think that we should not, I think the whole thing has to be and should be more consistent and not from 10 to 7 here and 10 to 6 here and 9 to 6 there, and not on Sundays. I am against the no work on Sundays, because we have people in the station who are, their Sabbath is on Saturdays. So I think that should not be part of this community's requirements. So I move that we table it until the whole ordinance is rewritten.
Councilwoman, with all due respect, where you're talking about consistency, you're describing the 1997 ordinance that's currently in place.
Yeah.
The ordinance that is consistent is what we're proposing, which is the Matthews.
Yeah, but I want that to be in accordance with the entire ordinance be rewritten so that it is consistent.
I will not support it. And what I proposed also was consistency. I think all limitations should be 7 to 9, except for demolition and construction, which should be moved to 8 to 9.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor that this be tabled until the ordinance can be rewritten.
I have a motion to table this ordinance to be rewritten. I have a second by Councilman Smith. All in favor? Opposed? Councilman Jen opposes. Motion passes to table this item.
Can I ask for clarification? Is what exactly in the ordinance is specifically just the time periods are what need consistency, and you would like to see the 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. throughout as far as the time restriction?
10, yeah, 6, and the scratch Sunday.
So that time period would be just consistently Monday to Sunday.
Monday to Sunday, yeah. Sunday to Sunday, whatever.
We do not have an executive session item. We will now move to item number 12, departmental reports.
Jennifer, do you
Just like to say that we did hire a permit customer service clerk, Kristen Hamner, and she is learning very quickly and excited to have her. And then also myself and Shay will be attending an election law seminar in Irving, January 16th through 18th, I believe, to freshen up on those rules before the election.
Right.
Chief Barnes? Mr. Watt?
Been working on water leaks. Trying to keep the road halfway past. We will have the contractor for the Orbit disc circulator at the wastewater plant in here after February 1st to do the repairs on the wastewater plant.
Is there any way you can give us a notice when you're going to shut the water off?
I had about 10 minutes notice myself.
Oh.
We had a 6-inch water main pumping close to about 2,000 gallons a minute. And I've been putting in tanks to do that. We would have to chlorinate the whole system. So if I can shut the tanks off, reduce the flow, then we can get it repaired faster. And we did pretty we repaired it pretty fast. I told Frank an hour, but we tried to get it in about 25 minutes.
I guess I was trying to use water just then.
Could we use the code red system to alert?
That's for weather.
For what?
Weather related.
I've received them from Anna when they had water lines down.
I'll check with the emergency manager for Grayson County and see what's going
And
on.
we've had silver alerts that have come out. So
Well,
it's
that
not
makes
just weather.
We have code red in Hot Springs Village. Anything beyond the water, anything beyond weather, we were charged an extra fee, but it was allowed by that area, but we had to pay for extra for that.
I specifically asked their source about that, and she did tell me it's weather related.
We did post it on our Facebook, and we started contacting the restaurants and the nursing home as soon as we were notified that there were possibilities of water being out by phone, as much as we could do.
Let's go.
I hope you saw the nice article on the front page of the Alstyne Leader that thanks to Texas Star Bank and GCEC, we now have an outdoor drop for the audio visuals. So any materials checked out from the library can now be returned at a time of close.
Moving on to city manager.
Mayor and Council, sent y'all an email earlier today. We have updated the map, received today the updated map for 2013. I'm hoping Mr. Reed will still be around. Updated map for 2013 and schedule for Republic Waste. It's Jennifer got it up on the website, so you can find it. We had a meeting last Friday with Republic to discuss the issues we've been having as far as inconsistency with the calendar. They assured us that we will be getting more attention than we had and less runaround. Because our next step is to reevaluate where we are with the relationship. This past Saturday was the pickup because we had Christmas earlier in the week, New Year's, thank you. We had New Year's earlier in the week, so pickup was on Saturday. How many complaints have we received this week?
I would say between 5 and 10 this week, which is a decrease.
It's more manageable, but the main issue that we worked towards was decreasing the learning curve because it hasn't happened, because they've been using different drivers for different routes. We'd like to see, because of the development of the town and how Van Alstyne is not unique to small towns, and there are roads that look like they're private drives, and they're not necessarily are. They are actually streets within the city. And drivers on routes need to identify exactly where the homes are and who needs help and who is disabled and who needs assistance with their cars. We asked for consistency with the drivers, so that way we do have a learning curve and we do eliminate the problems and the issues, because it is waste, solid waste, bulk pickup and everything is passed through. It's not a revenue thing for the city. We would like to see the issues decrease, and that was the main issue, the main thing. And the follow-up email that they gave us were the problems that we're working to address with Republic.
We're moving on to mayor, city council, closing comments. Councilman
Yeah, I'd like to make one point, and that is that as we've been talking about the ordinances, I have a very strong feeling that every time a new law is passed by the city, whether it be city, state, or federal government, the power of government grows and the individual becomes weaker. And I want to see us strengthen the individual over the government.
I don't have any comments. to adjourn? Councilman Smith, motions to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Councilman Lee, seconds. All in favor? We are adjourned at 7:48.
Hello.
Hey, can I